and take an oath.
As some of you may know, I'm a bit of a court nerd, and I saw this hearing and I just couldn't not share. It was fascinating to me, and I just wanted to do a reaction. So I hope you all enjoy this as much as I did.
Can you do that?
Well, yes, sir, I am.
Okay. So you swear the testimony you're going to provide in this case is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. So, Mr. Phillips, what is it that you would like the court briefly to know about your situation with your attorney, Mr. Schulte?
Yes, sir. Once again, he is a non-representation of me. He has not consulted me about any of these matters that are up to my concern. He is also in combats with Judge Olds. I believe that Emily Dasher and Judge Olds both are family friends of Jolene, and I'm being railroaded out of my daughter's life. I want that to be on the record, please, Your Honor.
Okay, well, first of all, I'm not Judge Old. And
yes, I understand that, but with them two working in conjunction with one another, and I'm not being refused to hear anything that I had to say to him today for what brief time that I got to participate with him at 2:00. Once again, he is not representing me. I refuse for him to represent me. I prefer to represent myself, Your Honor.
This gives me great concern already. The conspiracy theory and the refusal to let his lawyer do his job.
So, Mr. Phillips, I have in my notes last week on November 10th that I had informed you that you could hire an attorney. Do you remember me telling you that?
Yes, sir, I do, and unfortunately, the funds are not available at the moment, and so once again, he is not giving me any kind of legal representation. So I don't understand how the court can continue to have him as my attorney.
Okay, so would you?
He was provided by.
You're telling me today under oath that you. It's my turn to speak, Mr. Phillips. So you're telling me under oath today that you would rather represent yourself than have an attorney represent you in this case?
Yes, sir, I would. If that's what I have to if that's what I'm left with, if I'm not left with more time to obtain a private attorney, yes, sir. I mean, if that's what I'm left with, yes.
Okay, so today's November 17th. I'm most likely going to have a hearing in the next few minutes. So as I understand it, you want me to release Mr. Schulte as your attorney and have you represent yourself.
I mean, if what I'm saying is if I'm not going to be provided more time to get a private attorney, I mean, that's my only option because he is not for me, Your Honor.
Okay, that's not what I asked you, Mr. Phillips. What I asked you is in 5 minutes, do you want to do it yourself or do you want Mr. Schulte to help you with it?
I guess I'm going to have to do it myself if that's my option.
Okay. Mr. Phillips, I will grant your desire to represent yourself in this case. Mr. Schulte, thank you for your services in this case, and I will release you from any further responsibility.
Thank you, Judge.
I don't think that lawyer is overly disappointed in this decision at all, as you'll find out as we watch.
Okay. And Ms. Phillips, Mr. Schulte you will now be responsible for your own representation.
Thank you. Do my best.
All right. So, Ms. Cuadrado, tell me what it is that the department is seeking today.
Your Honor, the department is seeking for both Ms. Russell and Mr. Phillips to participate in services with the department. It is my understanding that Ms. Russell is in agreement with working services. The specific services that the department is requesting Ms. Russell to participate in is to submit to random drug and alcohol testing at the request of the department, for Ms. Russell to participate in a parenting program to include protective parenting, and finally, for Ms. Russell to continue to follow the recommendations of her drug and alcohol assessment. As far as Mr. Phillips goes, the department is seeking for him to participate in services as well. We would ask that he participate in a drug and alcohol assessment and follow all recommendations, to participate in a psychological evaluation and follow all recommendations.
You'll definitely agree that this is essential, absolutely essential as this continues.
To submit to a hair follicle drug test to include specific testing for PCP. For Mr. Phillips to submit to random drug testing at the request of the department. For Mr. Phillips to engage in a parenting program to include protective parenting. And for Mr. Phillips to engage in individual therapy.
Okay, Ms. Smith, what is your position today? What would you like to see happen at the conclusion of today's hearing?
So, Your Honor, my client is in agreement to participate, in these services as delineated today by the department. The caveat, of course, is that she wants to have her daughter remain in her home, and as the court is aware, her daughter was placed back with her, I believe, at the evening of the last hearing, and is doing very well. And she wants to, just continue to parent her child. She, at this point, if the court is inclined to do a stay away order, she would be very much in agreement with that as well. She also wants to have the discretion, with respect to allowing unsupervised contact with her own mother and the child.
Mr. Manuel, as the attorney and guardian ad litem in this case, well, we'll say attorney ad litem, what is your position today?
Judge, I'm in agreement with both the department and with Ms. Smith. I'm also in agreement as far as the request for the mother to be able to allow the maternal grandmother around. Jalen calls her Nana, and she definitely wants her around. So I would like to have that be allowed today. The other request I would add is, and I asked for this at the last hearing, there are concerns regarding drug use in this case, especially as far as the father goes. There was a time where he had Jalen in his care. And so I would be requesting a hair follicle on Jalen, on the child, to determine whether or not there was any use around her.
Can I speak up, Your Honor?
Yes, Mr. Phillips, it's your turn now. What would you like to see happen at the conclusion of today's hearing?
First of all, I was not given the opportunity to have a safe place like Ms. Russell was. The department did not give me the opportunity to drive back from Seguin to back to Midland. I was informed by a CPS here that
Mr. Phillips, hold on a minute. This is Judge Stuckey. I don't want to hear facts at this point. I just want to hear when we're done here. When I'm done hearing the evidence.
Affidavit, though. Yes,
Mr. Phillips, listen to me very closely. Okay, this is a court. In order for me to make decisions today, I have to hear evidence. I don't really care what's in the affidavit because, listen to me. Don't interrupt me, Mr. Phillips. It doesn't matter as of today. Mr. Phillips, do not interrupt me. You understand that?
Yes, sir. I did not.
Don't.
I'm listening.
Okay. So the affidavit is behind us now. Today is a contested hearing. And so I'm going to hear evidence in the form of testimony today, and I will make a decision at the conclusion of today's hearing. So what I want to hear from you at this point is not facts. I want to hear what you want me to do at the end of today's hearing. Like, what would you like the result to be of today's hearing?
Okay. I'd like
your opportunity to speak now.
I would like Jalen to be placed with me. I would like the safe environment that was given to Jolene to be given to me. There's two. Both of them were involved in the beginning. The CPS that began all this to begin with was neglect.
Mr. Phillips.
That is. I'm sorry,
Mr. Phillips. Listen to me again. I don't want to hear facts. I just want to hear what you want to see happen at the end of today's hearing. What I've heard so far is that you want Jalen to be.
I would like to see Jalen. I would like to see Jalen be given a hair follicle test. I don't have a problem with the hair follicle test. I would also like Jolene to also be given a hair follicle test. All three of us. I would also like for her mother to be given a hair follicle, since she'll be around Jalen. And I'm not at all opposed to any of the stipulation that they've given me. Just about what's written in the affidavit. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Okay, so it sounds like from what I've already heard already that Ms. Russell is willing to work some or all of the services that were set out. So the department would like me to order you today to have a drug and alcohol assessment, have a psychological evaluation, have a hair strand drug test, submit to random drug testing, participate in a parenting program, including protective parenting and individual therapy. Are you willing to engage in any or all of those services?
I am, as the stipulation is also put on Ms. Russell.
Okay, so you'd be willing to do all of those things?
Yes, sir, I would.
Okay, so as I understand it, Mr. Phillips, it sounds like you're agreeable to working services, but what you would like to see happen at the conclusion of today's hearing is that I place Jalen with you. It sounds like you are willing to have the hair strand drug test. So you would like me to place Jalen with you and then order that the mother, Ms. Russell, have a hair strand drug test. And then I will tell you, as to the grandmother, she's not a party to the case, so I cannot order her to have a hair strand drug test. So the only things you would like me to consider today that you're not already in agreement with is to place Jalen with you and have Ms. Russell have a hair strand drug test. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, so Ms. Cordado, it sounds like both our parties are in agreement with everything with the exception of Mr. Phillips would like his daughter placed with him today.
I don't believe that Jalen.
Okay, say that again, Ms. Phillips. Mr. Phillips?
I don't believe that Jalen has been ordered for a hair follicle, just a random urine test based on the affidavit, Your Honor.
Okay, then I will consider ordering all the parents in this case, both you and Ms. Russell, to have a hair strand drug test.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, so Ms. Cordado, it sounds like what's before the court is a request by Mr. Phillips that his child be placed with him. So I want to hear evidence about that, please.
Okay, thank you, Judge. I would call Ms. Dasher as my witness.
Okay, Ms. Dasher, if you raise your right hand point, please. You swear the testimony you're going to provide in this case is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. You may put your hand down. Go ahead, Ms. Cordado.
Thank you, Judge. Now, Ms. Dasher, have you heard so far in this hearing that Ms. Russell is agreeable to working services with the department?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And have you heard in this hearing so far that it appears Mr. Phillips is also in agreement to work services with the department?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And is it true that the child was returned to Ms. Russell last week?
Yes.
Okay. Why did the department believe it was safe for Jalen to return to the care of her mother?
Because Ms. Russell has provided a negative drug screen. She has also been participating and been cooperative in all the assessment and classes we've asked her to take.
Okay, so Ms. Russell is actually already engaged in services with the department. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Now, what is the department's position on Mr. Phillips' request to have Jalen placed with him?
The department does not agree with that.
And why not, Ms. Dasher?
There are concerns with Mr. Phillips' mental state due to paranoia. He has not been able to provide a clean drug test for the department either. So we're not able to rule out if he has been under the influence.
Okay. Now, when you say that he's not been able to provide a clean drug test for the department, has he drug tested at all for the department?
No, he has refused.
And how many times has he refused to participate in random drug testing?
He's been asked on at least 2 occasions. I think about 3.
Okay. And so he's refused all requests by the department to submit to random drug testing, correct?
Yes, he's mentioned that he will do it for family-based services, but not for investigation purposes.
Okay. Now, Ms. Dasher, why did the department get involved with this family in the first place?
Due to the positive drug screen of Ms. Russell and Mr. Phillips.
Okay.
Objection, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Phillips, what's your objection?
I have passed 2 drug
Okay,
screenings
Mr. Phillips,
with,
that's
the
not an
department.
objection. I need a legal objection.
Okay, objection, hearsay.
Okay, Ms. Cordado, your response to the hearsay objection?
I am eliciting information from the department in regards to the allegations that were received by the department in this case.
I'll sustain the objection. Go ahead, Ms. Cordado.
Was there a court order, Ms. Dasher, in this case? A prior court order, not in this case, I'm sorry. Was there a prior court order signed by Judge Old involving the parents and the child in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
And what were the terms of that order?
The terms were during the investigation that the child have no contact with either parents.
Okay. And do you know why Judge Old made that order?
I believe it was due to the positive drug test.
Okay. Now, after the department received the referral in this case, when was the first time you had any contact with Mr. Phillips?
I cannot say the specific day. I do know it was after Jalen was placed. I did give him a phone call to let him know the status of Jalen at that time.
Objection, Your Honor.
And what's your objection, Mr. Phillips?
I guess it has to be hearsay again because that never happened.
Okay, Mr. Phillips, I don't want to hear the sidebar comment on the end.
Okay.
So
Hearsay.
overruled. Go ahead, Mr. Cordano.
Thank you. And so where was the child placed at that time?
The child was originally placed with friends of Mr. Phillips, and then she was placed by the department with Mr. and Mrs. Harborth.
Okay. And who are Mr. and Mrs. Harborth?
They're the child's maternal great aunt and uncle.
Okay. All right. So it's your testimony that you reached out to Mr. Phillips to inform him of where Jalen had been placed, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Leading the witness.
Overruled. Go ahead, Mr. Cordano.
You can answer, Ms. Dasher.
At that time, we were not going to tell him specifically where she was placed, but that she was placed in a safe home due to the placement having concerns of Mr. Phillips coming to the home.
Okay.
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled.
And did Miss Russell agree to the placement of Jalen with Mr. and Mrs. Harborth?
Yes.
Okay. Where was Mr. Phillips located at this time, to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, we were actually unsure. There was concerns that he was still in the San Antonio area. There was concerns that he had gone to pick up the child. So his actual whereabouts were unknown.
Okay. All right. At
Objection, Your Honor. They have my phone number.
Okay, Mr. Phillips, I'm okay with you objecting. That's fine, but you need to have a
Okay,
legal
objection.
objection.
Okay. Objection, hearsay.
Okay, overruled. Go ahead, Mr. Cordano.
Thank you. At some point in this case, Ms. Dasher, did Mr. Phillips provide you with an address in what I'm going to pronounce as Peyote, Texas?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And is Peyote, Texas in Region 8?
No, it is not in Region 8.
Okay. And so was there a courtesy worker assigned for Mr. Phillips?
Yes, a courtesy worker was assigned. I gave Mr. Phillips the option to discuss the allegations over the phone or exercise his right to record, which would be needed to be done in person. And he preferred it be done in person, so I sent the courtesy request.
Okay, all right. And that courtesy worker, was she able to meet with Mr. Phillips?
Eventually, yes.
Okay. And let's see.
Objection.
Mr. Phillips, what's your objection? There's no question at this point.
Yeah, I know. That's the problem.
That's not a problem. She's thinking, Mr. Phillips. So
Yeah.
go ahead, Ms. Cordano, whenever
Thank
you're
you,
ready.
Judge. Thank you, Judge. Did Mr. Phillips admit to the department that he tested positive for methamphetamines in court with Judge Old?
Yes.
Okay. Did he express to the department his concern that Judge Old was knew Miss Russell's family personally?
Yes.
Okay. And did he express to the department his concern that that is why Judge Old made the orders that he did?
Yes.
Okay. And have in your conversations with Mr. Phillips, what concerns do you have?
Mr. Phillips came across very paranoid. He would get very
Objection, Your Honor.
Okay, what's your objection, Mr. Phillips?
She's not a mental health advisor. What she is a child. She's taking on the role of what a mental health professional would. The question that she is not of stature to answer the question that's being given, Your Honor.
Ms. Quado, your response, if any, to Mr. Phillips' objection that Ms. Stasher is not a qualified expert?
Yes, Your Honor. The department is not offering Ms. Dasher as an expert in mental health. The department is simply asking Ms. Dasher what her impressions have been with her regarding her communication with Mr. Phillips.
Okay, the objection is overruled.
Thank you. Ms. Dasher, you can continue.
In my opinion, Mr. Phillips, any interaction I would have with him, it would take a lot of different turns. He would seem like he was cooperative, and then he would get very upset. He'd get very angry. Whenever he would get angry, he would begin to state that I was friends with the family or that I was currently with the family while on the phone with him. He just came across very.
Okay, Mr. Phillips, I'm going to overrule your objection. That's a statement made by you, so that you are a party to the case.
It wasn't a statement made by me to her. No, it was not, Your Honor.
Okay, you'll overruling the objection. Go ahead, Ms. Collado.
Thank you. Ms. Dasher, you can continue if you had more to say.
That was all.
Okay. Now, so in investigating this, well, let me strike that. Was there another open investigation on Mr. Phillips at the time this referral came in?
Yes, we did have a companion case with Mr. Phillips as the alleged perpetrator with concerns of neglectful supervision and sexual abuse.
Okay. And so what were the allegations of that companion
Objection,
case?
Your Honor.
Okay, what's your objection, Mr. Phillips?
I've been clear to those. Other
Okay,
than
Mr. Phillips, that's not an objection. Remember, we talked about this earlier. You have to state a legal objection.
Objection. Hearsay.
Okay, what's your objection?
Hearsay.
So I need to hear. What is your objection?
Hearsay.
Okay, Mr. Dotto, any response to Mr. Phillips's hearsay objection?
Your Honor, the department is merely questioning the witness as to a companion case and the allegations that were put forth during that companion case, Judge. We are not eliciting out of court statements.
Okay, the objection is overruled.
Okay. Ms. Dasher, what allegedly did Mr. Phillips do to have that investigation opened?
And that Mr. Phillips had photos of Jalen's half-sister's vagina on his
Objection,
phone.
Your Honor. That came from
Okay, Mr. Phillips.
Department.
Okay, Mr. Phillips, again,
Yes,
I
sir.
need to hear a legal objection. Do not tell me anything else other than your objection. Do you understand that?
I'm trying to word what the legal objection would be, Your Honor.
Well,
objection, not admissible to. I need legal representation, Your Honor.
Mr. Phillips, you had legal representation. You asked me
No, I did not.
specifically
It
to
was
address it.
provided by CPS. It was provided by CPS, which is not legal representation.
Okay, so let's back up a little bit. Mr. Phillips,
I'm
CPS
asking
did not
legal
provide you with your
representation. I
attorney.
need time to obtain an attorney. They're railroading me out of my daughter's life, and this is not admissible. This is not right. There's nothing right about this, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Phillips, you asked me specifically to release your attorney. I asked you.
No, well,
if you
I
had to-
said the one that was provided for me. I said that I needed legal representation and I needed time to obtain an attorney.
And we provide you with the week to do that, Mr. Phillips.
7 days is not enough, Your Honor.
Sure it is. Sure it is.
And I'm being railroaded out of her life, and this is wrong. This is wrong. Let the court know that I said that this is wrong, and this is just a travesty of justice. That's what it is, Your Honor.
Okay, well, Mr. Phillips, that sounds really fancy and all, but
There's
we're in the middle of a
really
hearing.
nothing else to say. I say we just move for motion to for your recommendations, Your Honor. You know, because this is crap, and I still have to get an attorney. So,
Well, Mr. Phillips, what I'll tell you at this point is the evidence is not finished. I have not heard all the evidence, including any evidence that you have today.
No.
So I'm not prepared to make any decisions because I haven't heard all the evidence.
you won't get the opportunity.
Well, I will have the opportunity because I'm doing that right now, Ms. Phillips. So we're going to continue on with our hearing.
Sounds great.
Ms. Cordato, proceed, please.
Yes, thank you, Judge. Now, Ms. Dasher, what was the, has that companion case since been closed?
The companion case has since closed, yes.
Okay, and what was the disposition of that case?
The allegations of sexual abuse were ruled out. The allegations of neglectful supervision with Mr. Phillips were ruled out as well.
And why was the disposition ruled out?
The child was given a forensic interview. The victim child was given a forensic interview and she made no outcry.
Okay. Now, Ms. Dasher, did you on one occasion speak with Ms. Russell about a video that she received from Mr. Phillips?
Yes, Ms. Russell did provide me with a video, a concerning video from Mr. Phillips. She was concerned due to Mr. Phillips' wording and his actions in the video of his mental state.
Okay, and
Objection, Your Honor. I'd like to see the video. Hearsay.
Okay, Mr. Phillips, go ahead, Ms. Cordato. See if you lay a predicate if you are planning on showing the video or a video.
yes, Judge, I was planning on getting there, Judge.
Okay, go ahead.
Ms. Dasher, did you view the video?
I did, yes.
Okay. And did you have concerns after watching that video?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Your Honor, I've never used video as an exhibit before. I did circulate it to the court and the parties. I'm assuming I can share my screen and play the video in that way.
Well, let's see if okay. So you have authority to share your screen, Ms. Cordato.
Okay. Thank you, Judge. So, Ms. Dasher, what can you see on your screen?
I see Mr. Phillips.
Okay, all right. So you recognize the person on the screen as being Mr. Phillips, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, Your Honor, I asked the court for permission to play this video so that Ms. Dasher can identify that it is the video she received from the mother in this case.
Okay, so why don't you play about the first 5 to 10 seconds, Ms. Cordato?
Okay, thank you, Judge. Hopefully this works.
Okay, I'm in my truck. Just wanted to show you so everybody knows I'm imagining shit. Watch.
Okay, if you'll pause the video, please.
Okay. And Ms. Dasher, do you recall seeing that video?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And this video was received by you from Ms. Russell, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And Ms. Russell indicated to you that she received this video directly from Mr. Phillips, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you've acknowledged that that's Mr. Phillips in the video?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Your Honor, I would like to be able to continue to play the video. I will advise the court, as the court may have heard, that there is some inappropriate language in the video.
Okay, Ms. Cordato, I don't know anything about your video, so whatever it is, it is.
Okay.
Are you asking that the video be admitted? What are you trying to do with it?
Yes, Judge. I would ask at this time that the court accept Petitioner's Exhibit 1, this video of Mr. Phillips, into evidence, please.
Okay, any objection, Ms. Smith?
No objections, Your Honor.
Mr. Manuel?
No objection.
And Mr. Phillips, any objection to the video?
I do object to it. That video was given far after any investigation of anything that pertained to this hearing or prior hearing on any CPS matter, Your Honor, which they have no jurisdiction of.
Okay, so Mr. Phillips, you believe that this video is in fact a video of yourself, is that right?
No, I would say that, yes, sir, by tone.
Okay, so the court will admit what's being offered as Petitioner's Exhibit 1 into evidence. If you would like to play the video, Ms. Cordato.
Thank you, Judge. I'm going to start the video over from the beginning.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm in my truck. Just wanted to show you so everybody knows I'm imagining shit. Watch. You know, I'm imagining that. That's really not happening. That isn't a worm or whatever, you know. That extraterrestrial that's in behind my seat just didn't set up an obstacle course to blow some black dust looking shit that entered through my backside that I've been trying to take a photograph of so everybody would know and enter my front and doing this to me. It's not happening. Extraterrestrial done this. Look at my chest.
Okay. Thank you, Judge. I'm going to stop sharing my screen at this time. Now, Ms. Dasher, you watched that video in its entirety, correct?
Yes.
Is there a subsequent video that Mr. Phillips took in continuation of the first video?
Yes, I believe the video, it's one full video and it had to be in half due to the length of it in order to send it.
Okay, all right. And so I would ask, can you just a second? Okay, Your Honor, I would ask to show Ms. Phillips the first few seconds of the video for her to identify that video as well.
Thank you, Mr. Archer.
The first few seconds of this video.
Oh, that's not happening. That's there has to be an explanation for that. That's
Please
multiple
pause this.
factors. What kind of
Okay, Ms. Dasher, is that the continuation of the first video that we just saw?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your response.
Yes, it is.
Okay, and can you confirm that that is still Mr. Phillips in the video?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I move to enter Petitioner's Exhibit 2, the remainder of Mr. Phillips' video into evidence at this time.
Any objection to what's being offered as Petitioner's Exhibit 2, Ms. Smith?
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Manuel
No objection, Judge.
and Mr. Phillips.
Object. It once again has nothing to do with the investigation that is at.
Dude, you literally asked to see the video. That was one of your most recent objections.
At hand now. That was given far after, and it was given in strict confidence that Jalen would keep that and understand what was going on. It was given in strict confidence. It wasn't given as something for her to use against me. That's pretty shitty.
I will, hearing Mr. Phillips's objection, that objection is overruled.
Judge.
Oh, that's not happening. That's there has to be an explanation for that. That's muscle spasm. What kind of drug did you do? Never seen anything like that in my world, ever in my life. If I go to the emergency room and ask them about that, it can't be extraterrestrial though. There's an explanation. Man, I don't know what more to fucking. I'm gonna fucking die because nobody believes me. There it is. This is the third time. Oh God, you know how painful it is too. Look at it.
Okay. Okay. Now, Ms. Dasher, what were your concerns after viewing these videos that Mr. Phillips sent to Ms. Russell?
I'm concerned with his mental state.
And can you explain why you were concerned about his mental state? What about the video made you concerned?
From what I interpreted from the video, Mr. Phillips is stating that an extraterrestrial being entered his body, and he was attempting to show the camera it moving inside him, and I was unable to see any movement in the body.
Okay. And so this video made you concerned for Mr. Phillips' mental health, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And to
Yes,
your
Your
knowledge, is
Okay, hold on a second. Mr. Phillips, what's your objection?
Is it about extraterrestrials or my mental state? If it could be clarified.
Okay, I heard the testimony, Mr. Phillips. I'll take it and give it the weight I believe it deserves. Go ahead, Mr. Cordado.
Okay.
Thank you. And to your knowledge, Ms. Dasher, is Mr. Phillips engaged in any kind of mental health services?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. Is that one of the reasons why the department is asking Mr. Phillips to submit to a psychological evaluation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And
Was it- Objection, Your Honor.
Okay, what's your objection, Mr. Phillips?
The date of the video. It's far after this affidavit, Your Honor.
Okay. Overruled. Go ahead, Mr. Cordado.
It's not conducive. It's not conducive with the affidavit dates.
Okay, Mr. Phillips.
When was that video dated?
The objection's overruled. Go ahead, Mr. Corrado.
Okay. So Ms. Dasher, after hearing Mr. Phillips's objection and stating that the video was taken after this affidavit had been written, does that alleviate any of your concerns?
No, because I wouldn't have been able to add it in the affidavit if I hadn't seen it.
Okay, so you saw this video prior to writing this affidavit, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And so how would you characterize Mr. Phillips's cooperation with this investigation?
I would not say that Mr. Phillips has been cooperative.
And why is that?
I think what my cooperation is going to be
All right,
now is
Mr.
to hang up. I have nothing more to say, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr.
Make
Phillips.
your, make your decision. I'm hanging up. I'm no longer a part of this courtroom. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, let the record reflect that Mr. Phillips is now hung up the telephone, is no longer participating in today's hearing. Go ahead, Ms. Corrado.
Okay, so I forgot my question. Okay, and you just testified that Mr. Phillips has been uncooperative throughout this investigation, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and is that concerning to you, his uncooperativeness?
Yes.
And why is that a concern to the department?
Because he informed us that in the beginning of the case, he was wanting to do whatever is needed to get his daughter back the right way. And then his actions showed otherwise.
Okay, and so do you believe that currently Mr. Phillips poses a danger to the child?
I do, yes, ma'am.
Why do you believe that to be true?
We have a lot of unanswered questions. We are still trying to understand what happened during the course of the time that Jalen was with Mr. Phillips. So until Mr. Phillips is able to cooperate and provide what the department is asking, we can't say that this child is safe in his care.
Okay, and what would the department's position be on allowing Mr. Phillips to have visitation with Jalen?
Until the department receives a clean drug screen, I don't believe the department would allow visitations with Jalen and Mr. Phillips.
Okay, all right. And Miss Dasher, did you hear at the beginning of this hearing when I listed the services that the department is requesting Mr. Phillips to participate in?
Yes.
Are those in fact the services that the department is asking for today?
Yes.
Are there any additional services that are not included in that list?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And so is the department asking today for the court to court order Mr. Phillips to participate in those services?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'll pass the witness, Judge.
Ms. Smith?
Yes, Your Honor. And so do you have any concerns, Ms. Dasher, about for Jalen being placed back with her mother?
No.
And is it fair to say that the child actually wanted to go back to her mother?
Yes.
And has the child made any references as far as you're concerned with respect to visiting with her father?
No.
Has the child indicated that she wants to be returned to her father's care?
No.
Were you able to speak to Mr. Phillips about his use of this dangerous drug called wet?
I attempted to ask Mr. Phillips about it, but that was during one of the discussions. He got very upset, and we were not able to have a conversation.
Okay. And were you able to discuss with him at all how long he has been a methamphetamine or wet user?
No.
Is that because he would not cooperate?
Correct. Whenever we were trying to get the history, he gave us very minimal and would not give us details of his use or what specifically he was using.
Okay. And is your understanding that wet is liquid PCP?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. And if in fact that were the drug that Mr. Phillips is also using, would that be additional concern to the department?
Yes, very concerning.
And would use of that drug be consistent with what you saw in the video and Mr. Phillips's erratic behavior in the courtroom?
Yes.
And I would all of those add to the concerns that the department has of putting him back or putting the child back in his care, whether for visitation or a placement?
Yes.
Has Mr. Phillips provided to you the address of his safe and stable home?
We have an address to the home. We haven't, during the course of this investigation, we haven't seen the home.
Was it because of his lack of cooperation?
Correct. He asked the courtesy worker to meet at the office instead of the home.
And was it explained to him that the department needed to see his home to consider placement of the child?
Since placement was not under consideration at the time, we didn't feel it was needed to see the home.
Okay. And did you discuss with Mr. Phillips his allegation that Judge Old tampered with the drug screen, with his drug screen?
No, he had made the comment, but he was making various comments and we weren't able to break down and really discuss what he meant by that or where he
Okay.
got that information.
But that was a comment from him that Judge Old tampered with the drug screen, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And just to be clear with respect to the video, is it fair to say that you saw the video after writing the affidavit and not before?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
I believe your attorney indicated that you saw the video before you wrote the affidavit, and that may have been a misstatement. Is it fair to say that in fact you actually saw the video after you wrote your affidavit?
It was during the course of the affidavit. So once I obtained the video, I added it in after consulting with the department.
Okay. And the video, the timing of the video, is it consistent with Mr. Phillips's statement that this video was taken after all of, after the CPS case had begun, and that's why he felt it was not relevant to the CPS case?
The video was received during the course of the investigation. It was sent to Ms. Russell during the course of the investigation. As far as the timestamp, that's not something I can,
Okay.
because it had to be on his phone.
Okay. But nevertheless, it's of great concern to the department.
Yes.
And is the department in agreement that Jalen remains with her mother?
Yes, ma'am.
And that Jalen's grandmother be able to, assist with her care?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Pass the witness.
Mr. Manuel.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Dasher, you mentioned the drug test that Judge Old had asked the parents to do. What was the mother positive for?
So whenever we received the allegations, it said that mother was positive for marijuana and amphetamine.
Okay, and since that time, you've received a clean drug test, correct?
Yes.
Now, what was the respondent father, Mr. Phillips, positive for?
Methamphetamines.
So if the child was given a hair follicle and is positive for anything other than marijuana, what would that indicate to you?
That he was using while he had the child or was under the influence.
Okay, and there was a time where Mr. Phillips had the child for an extended period of time. Is that correct?
Yes.
I want to say it was approximately 38 days that Mr. Phillips had the child. Does that sound accurate to you?
It was around that amount. Yes.
Do you know when the last day was that he had Jalen in his care?
I believe it was the day that he dropped off Jalen with his family friends. I want to say it was September 20th. Could be a few days on or a few days before.
Okay, so we're going on almost 2 months now since he has had care of his child, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so at this time, has the department conducted a hair follicle on Jalen?
No, the department has not.
Okay, and you understand that she could only even possibly test positive for maybe another 30 days if there was a substance used around her, correct?
Correct.
Okay, is the department opposed to conducting a hair follicle on Jalen today?
No.
Well, first of all, do you know, has Mr. Phillips been arrested for soliciting a prostitute?
Yes.
And how many children does he have?
He has 2 biological daughters.
Okay. You mentioned that there were pictures on his phone, allegedly, of his daughter's private parts. Which daughter was that?
It was Jalen's half sister, Aspen.
Okay. Now, I want to say, you mentioned that investigation was ruled out. Was there anything concerning about how that investigation took place?
Yes, going through the investigation, I did read that it appeared Jalen had been interviewed for concerns of sexual abuse in front of the alleged perpetrator while he was in the room, Mr. Phillips. Typically, that's not what we do.
Okay. So it's fair to say that if she was being asked questions about sexual abuse and he's standing there, that she may not have given accurate answers. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
So does the department currently still have concerns of sexual abuse by Mr. Phillips in this case?
Yes.
do you think it might be appropriate to add to Mr. Phillips' service plan a screening for sexual abuse of children, victimization, anything like that? Do you think anything might be appropriate to add to his plan at this point?
I believe it would be appropriate, yes, sir.
So when you say in order for Mr. Phillips to have visitation with his child, in this case, you want to have a clean hair follicle. I guess I would have to ask, is there anything else you would want? Would you, in order for him to start having unsupervised access?
We would want the clean drug test as well as him engaging in the services that get granted or not.
Okay. Judge, I have no further questions.
Ms. Corrado,
Nothing further, Judge.
Ms. Smith,
Just briefly, Your Honor, and I'll try to keep it short. Ms. Dasher, did you speak to Mr. Phillips about the investigation against him or into him with respect to the pictures?
No, I did not. It's due to the companion case, another investigator addressed those allegations with him.
So in the affidavit, in your affidavit, on page 7, where there's reference on October 11th, I called Captain Nunez. Who would that have been? Who called Captain Nunez?
That was myself. I called Captain Nunez.
Okay,
Okay.
You
Go
called Captain Nunez, correct?
Yes.
Correct? Did you say yes?
Yes.
Okay. And
Yes.
is it fair to say that you called Captain Nunez because you were told by Mr. Phillips that regarding the photos of his daughter's private parts on his phone, he was not going to be prosecuted for those photos because he was an asset to a sting operation for soliciting a prostitute?
I was not told directly that. This is what he told the investigator, the courtesy about this. So that's what I was looking into based off what he had mentioned.
Okay. And that investigator works for the department?
Yes, just in another county.
Okay, but is an agent for the department, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so he felt that his own charges would be dropped because he was working undercover for the police. Is that your understanding?
Yes.
Okay, so he never denied that the pictures were on his phone. He just denied that he would be prosecuted because he was doing sting operation, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
okay, Mr. Manuel, anything further?
Nothing further, Judge. As far as questions go, I just would have a few requests.
Okay, Ms. Corrado, anything else to the witness?
Nothing further, Judge.
Okay, any other witnesses you wish to call, Ms. Corrado?
No, Judge.
Ms. Smith?
No witnesses, Your Honor, just my request.
Okay. So we're going to start with Ms. Corrado. So Mr. Corrado, you told me everything in opening, and I believe I wrote it all down as to what you're requesting. So any argument or statement on behalf of your client, the department?
Your Honor, I believe that the testimony put forth today and the evidence put forth today provides enough grounds for concern for Mr. Phillips's mental health. I think the testimony that Mr. Phillips has refused to submit to drug testing presents concern for drug use. And for those reasons, the department is requesting that Mr. Phillips be court ordered to participate in the services listed in the affidavit and in any other services that the child's ad litem may feel would be appropriate for Mr. Phillips to participate in.
Okay, Ms. Smith?
And so, Your Honor, I'm pretty much aligned with the department as it relates to my client. So we agree with the court-ordered services, the submission to random drug and alcohol screens, the protective parenting program, individual therapy, and any recommendation made by the or stemming out of the drug and alcohol assessment. In addition, Your Honor, we're asking the court to formally, place the child back with her mother, to allow for the maternal grandmother to have unsupervised access to the child at the discretion of the mother. We're also asking for no visitation between the child and Mr. Phillips, and we're also asking for a stay away order from as to Mr. Phillips and the child, the mother, and the grandmother. I recognize that the grandmother is not
Okay, the grandmother's not a party.
is not a
Mr.
party.
Stewart.
So yes, Judge. So I apologize. So a stay away order probably the size of a football field, as to the mother and the child.
So Ms. Smith, how big's a football field?
I don't
I'm just
know,
kidding, Ms.
100
Smith.
yards,
Okay,
200
I'm
yards,
kidding.
something like that.
I'm kidding. It's late in the day. So you want a
Yes,
football
Judge.
field size injunction.
Yes, Judge.
Okay, Mr. Van Well.
Okay, Judge, I do agree with everything that both parties have said as far as the service to go. However, I would like to request the hair follicle on Jalen to be conducted immediately before any more time passes. It may already be too late if that was an issue, but I would like to know whether or not if he was using it around Jalen. I would also like to add, after the testimony today, a request for a psychosexual evaluation of Mr. Phillips, and I would like that to be conducted before he can have his visitation, if at all possible. Those would be my requests today, Judge.
Okay, so Ms. Dasher, in the court considering this case today, as I understand it, you confronted Mr. Phillips with the allegations that he had pictures of, I guess, a different child's vagina on his phone, and he did not deny those allegations?
Courtesy worker confronted him, and no, the allegations were not denied.
And it was your understanding from the courtesy worker's interview with Mr. Phillips that he would not be prosecuted for any potential crime because he was an informant?
He stated he was part of a sting operation, but this was denied by Captain Nunez.
Okay, but just so I understand, Mr. Phillips, it's Mr. Phillips's belief, and what he told the department was that he did not believe he'd be prosecuted for any potential crime because he was an informant.
Yes, sir.
And then the police subsequently denied that he was an informant.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Cordato, it's the department's case. Any last words before I make decisions?
Your Honor, I believe that the parties have expressed their positions. The department has expressed its position. The department is in agreement with a hair follicle for the child. And the department is absolutely not opposed to Mr. Manswell's request for Mr. Phillips to undergo a psychosexual evaluation. The department believes that Ms. Russell should continue engaging in services to alleviate the concerns in this case, and believes that Mr. Phillips definitely needs to participate in services to alleviate the serious concerns in this case.
Okay, so based upon the sworn testimony today, the admitted exhibits, and the behavior of the father, Mr. Phillips was able to obviously not observe by video, but hear and listen to with my own ears during the course of today's case. The court does enter the following orders. The court does order the parents, both Ms. Russell and Mr. Phillips, to participate in court-ordered services. As to the mother, she is to participate as requested in a parenting program, individual therapy, following recommendations of a OSAR or drug and alcohol assessment, have random drug testing, and the child, Jalen, will be continue to be placed with her at this time. As to the father, Mr. Phillips, the court does order Mr. Phillips to have a drug and alcohol assessment, to have a psychological evaluation, and follow all recommendations. The court does order a hair strand drug test for Mr. Phillips within, we'll say, let me give you a date certain. Let me look at the calendar. Mr. Phillips is to submit to a hair strand drug test by November 21st at 4 p.m. That hair strand drug test is to include looking for PCP or any similar substances. Mr. Phillips is ordered to participate in ongoing drug testing, engage in a parenting program, including protective parenting, and participate and complete successfully individual therapy. Additionally, based upon the allegations in the case, the testimony of the witnesses, and the argument and request by counsel in this case for the child, the court does order that Mr. Phillips submit to a psychosexual assessment. The court will order that Jalen undergo drug testing. I will say that's kind of tricky, typically for children in the department's care, so the department will have to work on that. You may have to pay out of pocket for that to be done, but the court does order Jalen to have a hair strand drug test. Additionally, I'm concerned with, in fact, whether Jalen in this case has been exposed to any inappropriate sexual behavior. So I'm ordering that Jalen to have a CAC interview that's done appropriately, by a professional, and with the alleged perpetrator not in the room, obviously. Okay, so let me go back through my notes.
Stay away.
Oh, Miss Smith, it's in my notes. I'll get there. I just want to make sure, column by column. You're very helpful, Miss Smith. I'm looking for my football field notes. Okay, so the court does allow the mother to make decisions about who can come around her child, including the grandmother, with the exception of Mr. Phillips. Mr. Phillips's visitation with the child any right to visitation is suspended until after he's had the psychosexual assessment, and Jalen's had an opportunity to have a CAC interview. Okay, as to Mr. Phillips's request, before he left us today, he requested that the mother, Miss Russell, have a hair strand drug test. That is ordered today. I will order the mother have hair strand drug test as well, as I previously stated, Mr. Phillips. Court does not order the grandmother in this case to have a hair strand drug test. And just court does note that Mr. Phillips was in agreement with most, if not all, of the services requested by the department in this case. We don't know if Mr. Phillips is willing to do the additional services that were tacked on by the court. And a stay away order based upon Mr. Phillips's behavior today in court, based upon us as parties in the court reviewing what's been admitted as Petitioner's Exhibit 1 and Petitioner's Exhibit 2. The court does grant a stay away order and an injunction against Mr. Phillips. Mr. Phillips is not to come within 300 feet of Miss Gillian Russell, the child Jalen Russell. That includes their residence and any school or daycare in which Jalen is a participant in. These are all additional temporary orders that are within the court's discretion under Chapter 105 of the Family Code. Okay, with all that being said, Ms. Quadrado, is there anything else that the court you would like a ruling on from the court, or any questions about the court's orders?
I don't believe so, Judge. I think I got everything down.
Okay, Ms. Smith?
You're muted, Ms. Smith.
I believe we did get everything, Your Honor.
Okay, and Ms. Smith, just so you know, 300 feet is a football field.
Okay.
Mr. Manuel?
Thanks, Judge.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, so the last thing before we go today, our next hearing in this case will be a court order services review hearing, and that will be held, or a compliance hearing, that will be held on February 2nd, 2023 at 10:30 a.m. Again, February 2nd, 2023 at 10:30 a.m. Ms. Russell, good luck in this case. Please, if you have questions, please contact the department or your attorney, Ms. Smith. Obviously, Jalen's placed with you, so I hope you have a good holiday season, and please keep her safe, including from her father. If you have any questions about safety, if he should come around you or Jalen and you believe he's violated that 300-foot injunction, please call the police. Okay.
And Judge, you
Ms.
said
Russell?
the time was, I'm sorry, the time was at what time?
10:30. 10:30. Anything else before we are finished for the day?
Don't believe
Okay,
so.
Ms. Russell, I'm going to unmute you. You look like you want to say something. Ms. Russell, any question about the court's orders today?
I guess there was he's already starting to threaten me, Mr. Phillips, on text message. I guess I would just have to go to get me an attorney to do.
So speak to Ms. Smith, and then Ms. Smith, as your attorney, can give you advice about what together y'all believe is the best thing to do at this point. Okay, not knowing the nature of what he's telling you. If you believe that he's threatening you with violence, you may need to make a police report, but please speak to Ms. Smith about your options and what you think is an appropriate way going forward.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Ms. Russell. Obviously, the most important thing is for both you and Jalen to be safe. If you have questions, please contact their appropriate authorities for help. Okay, you may be excused. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Thanks, Your Honor.
Thank you, Judge.
If you enjoyed this and you'd like to see more courtroom reactions, I quite enjoyed doing this and would love to do more. So let me know in the comments.